Let me just record real quick. 1 2 1 2 and play some music.
I wanted to ask some things I heard.
Alright, can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Alright, let's see. One of the biggest things with what motivates people to do something is that they want to do it in the first place. So, like for me, why I stuck with music production for the shitty 3 long ass years, even though I was struggling with it, is because I was like motivated to I wanted to make music. I enjoyed doing it, and it's something I really loved. So that's what kept me going. But the reason why a lot of people give up as well, because there is such a steep learning curve that people don't enjoy going through, and it's really about submitting to time and enjoying the process. And we're gonna talk about this a lot. Oh man, I'm gonna ramble a lot. There's a lot of people who have asked me to do this, to teach them about mixing, mastering, sound design, etc. But it's such a hard topic to explain in a single YouTube video. So I'm gonna be laying the foundation for it, at least in this first lesson, so that everyone can then follow around when we do the deeper lessons. So hello Clay, welcome to one-on-one music mentorship with DraGonis. The reason why I'm recording this is because there's been a lot of people who have been wanting to learn the same things as you do, and it's really great that you contacted me to do a one-on-one lesson, because you're basically paying for everyone else's education from your own pocket, at least for this first lesson. So I hope everyone is grateful to your sponsorship.
Oh, let's go.
So
shout out Chop Beats.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna start with some music production theory for the first lesson. We're gonna go through a lot of stuff in this mentorship, and I have to lay a lot of groundwork, at least for the first lesson, because I could go into straight away teaching how I mix, how I master, all that stuff like EQing, compression, but I don't think it is going to be very helpful, because you're not going to absorb the knowledge. It's going to be very slow to absorb the knowledge, because how it generally works with teaching is that it takes a lot of trial and error from the student's part. A lot of the learning comes from after the fact, when you go into your own DAW and then you test these things out, and you refer back to the sort of theory that is presented to you during the lesson. I just want to sort of so instead of just teaching how to do certain things, I want to offer a brand new perspective in the lesson, so that you can go into your DAW later on and think about these things a little bit differently, as people normally usually talk in YouTube tutorials, as having hard set rule, well, not hard set rule, but rules for mixing and then compression, etc. So today we're going to go over some basic production theory, some philosophy and practices that is often overlooked in the creation of electronic music. And by no means I'm not a professional. To be honest, I'm barely intermediate in music production. There are so many people out there that are far better. They know much more theory, much more in-depth knowledge in sound design and just the bread and butter of production. But I'm going to offer my past 7 to 8 years of experience as someone who has learned music production independently. So by no means is this a how would you say, setting stone way of thinking about things. It's just I'm offering my personal perspective and my experience. So today we're going to do a breakdown of 2 personal FLP projects in terms of sound selection, production, mixing, frequency placement, and mastering chain. And then we're going to identify areas where producers, especially newer ones that are watching this, that may struggle. And that's completely okay. You can 100% blame me, because the stuff I put on with my tutorials, it's not something you can learn from. It's not there to hold your hand and teach you how to make music. The stuff I've been putting out is a framework to how to make certain genres. It's never meant to be a guide per se for you to learn from, right? So that's that. So hopefully I can make up for that with these lessons if we keep on going. So some notes, I might ramble a lot, like a lot. Cut me off if you have any questions. Like just feel free just to step in and say, hey, I have a question, because this is a mentorship and you're paying for this. So I hope this recording works and it won't like cut off at some point. But I'm gonna just set it aside up here so I can see it. This knowledge is gonna be scary for new beginners. You're not a beginner. You've been making music for around 5 years, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And like how has it been? Can you describe your experience and your struggles in general with like production and why you decided to contact me?
So I'm kind of getting to the point where I wanted to start releasing my own music. I definitely noticed a difference from listening to my full tracks versus to, I guess, professional tracks, so to speak. I guess listen to music that I listen to.
Yeah.
And I want to just get to the point to where I am able to release music that I am proud of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So exactly. So there's a huge step forward from being like like a producer to being an artist. When you are like, often it takes a huge leap to start actually releasing music because you've been making music for so long and you don't know like what's good enough to be released in a sense. And hopefully I can give some perspective to that in this lesson. So I think a lot of knowledge that I'm going to share here is going to be difficult to absorb. It's going to be scary, but it's going to help. You're gonna like think about it slowly, and then it'll start to make sense slowly. So we're first gonna look at the elements of music, this sort of image I have, and I want you to ignore it. The image I put there is that I wanted to say like there are elements in music, and I then googled like elements of music, but this is not what I wanted to show at all. As a matter of fact, in EDM, you don't really need many other things other than like the melody, rhythm, and texture. So I want you to sort of like, when I refer to elements like in music, I don't want you to think about like the elements of music in the image. I want you to think of it in the sense of instruments. So there's parent elements, there's drums, there's melodics, basses, percussions, effects, ambiences, and then there's child elements. There's in the drums, there's the kick, snare, cymbal, and in the basses there's growls, sub bass, whatever else you got there, and then you got like synth leads in the melodics, and then lasers, sweeps, downrisers, uprisers in the effects. Think of elements as like code. So there's parent elements, there's child elements. So we're gonna take a look at the chord progression and plug, for example. So tell me if you can hear this.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So this is what I would call like a parent element. It's a melodic element, and it can, like, what makes it an element in my personal, because I don't know if this is it, because a lot of the stuff that goes around, I feel like it's not like hard set rules. I just generally think like an element, something that can stand on its own. So we can have drums behind this, we can have ambiences, but like as like on its own, it can stand out. Like it stands on its own pretty well. And that's why I consider it an element. And same with like a drum pattern, for example, it can stand on its own. And I think that's why sample packs work really well, is because they give you elements to work with that can stand on their own, but still allow you like the creativity of adding onto them, right? Okay, so that is that for elements.
You have the parent elements and the child elements written down in the notes, right?
I have. Do you see them?
So I'm on my phone. I just see the FL screen.
Okay, got it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do so that I'm gonna share the. I'm gonna go back and forth between FL and document. So can you see the document?
Yeah, I can see the document.
Awesome. So think of a song as a bunch of construction blocks that are crammed together. And we have the elements down here, the melodics, drums, effects, etc. We have it here as a foundation. And then we're kind of building on top of it. We're building a structure on top of it to construct a song. What makes up a song? We got the melody, the drums, got the compositional structure, we've got sound selection, sound design, got lyrics, and then we have things that support these foundational elements. Well, not really support, but build upon it. We use mixing to bring out the best in the elements that we sort of lay as a foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have mastering on top. And this makes up a song. And these building blocks, they're stacked together to form the meaning behind the song. Now, what does this mean? Now, some people may just say like, oh, you know, meaning is something you decide yourself to put behind the song. Yes, but how do you make up a meaningful song? That's something we're gonna go over through this lesson. Like, we're gonna refer to the idea of meaning a lot. So how do you bring out the meaning in a song? You lay the foundation and you bring out the meaning. Like, in my personal opinion, the foundational elements are there to give a baseline to the meaning of the song. Like, we have the melody, we have the drums with the chord progression, and then we bring out the meaning through these supporting things. We bring out the meaning through our sound design, through our sound selection, the lyrics, the mixing, the mastering. Like, why do we mix a certain way? Why do we, use certain sounds? Why do we balance certain instruments this way or that way? So a lot of newer producers might struggle in the areas of building a song that is coherent because they're lacking in one of these aspects. And only when all of these aspects are in alignment with one another can your song truly shine. As a beginner, you're gonna struggle. Like, you might have the melody, you might have great melody, you might have amazing melody and drums, you have good sound selection, but you don't know how to mix and you don't know how to master, and that's going to be a huge setback in a sense. Well, not a huge setback, but it's gonna be a setback that doesn't make your song stand out as much as it could, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to think of this as building blocks of a song, as well as supporting structures of the meaning behind the song. Because when these elements shine super well, you're gonna hear a song that is, because at a certain point, mixing becomes more of a style thing than like a necessity. In the beginning, when you do mixing, at least when I did mixing, it's like I didn't know how to mix. I didn't know how to make it so that the elements were balanced. I didn't know how to make, like, literally I couldn't mix. That's how I started. But over time, as I learned how to actually mix things together, you start to realize that having your elements sound clear, it's not that difficult, and that mixing becomes more of a style thing as opposed to a necessity, in the sense that, okay, why am I making it so that the melody is slightly louder than the vocals, or why are the vocal chops a tad bit quieter? What do I want to achieve with this? And these things will then support the meaning behind the song in that sense, right? So why do fucking pop artists sing like 16 backing tracks to a fucking to their song? It's like, they're trying to achieve something with it, right? Emotion, meaning, right?
I gotcha. And then things add up.
Okay, so we're gonna move up to the next topic, which is, well, the blank canvas theory. It's derived from the philosophy of John Locke. He argues that people are born as blank slates, and that the sort of through life, we get, filled with knowledge and
frame of reference
stuff. Yeah. So I think it's the same with music. It's like we start with a blank canvas and we put ourselves into our songs. I think that's the best way to explain it. So a song doesn't have meaning. Like a music is a form of expression, but a song doesn't have meaning until you put meaning into it. And this is why some music sounds more tasteful than others, because, well, I don't know if tasteful is the right word, but why they sound as if they have more heart in it than others. It's because the artists have put a part of themselves into it, as opposed to just making a track for the sake of making a track. So, but the ability to like sort of express isn't really taught naturally, and I do think it needs to be learned. It's much like communication skills. It can be learned, and as a matter of fact, I think from my personal experience, there's quite a few people I've come across who have the inability to sort of express themselves, but that's completely okay. Like these are things that you have to learn over time, right? Right. So anyway, let me just pop my Red Bull here because I have had 4 hours of sleep, and I am going to keep this lesson alive by caffeinating myself. Because
hell yeah.
I think if I had more sleep, I would ramble a lot more, but it's good we keep this, lesson straightforward and simple.
It's early in the morning for you over there.
Yeah, I woke up like 6:30. I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. Because I was honestly, I was really hyped last night. Like, I really wanted to do this lesson. I put a lot of thought behind it.
Bro, you got the fucking notes and shit on lock.
Yeah, like I really I because there's so many people who keep asking me the same stuff, and I can't explain how to mix and master to you in like 10 minutes. It's just not possible. It's not doable.
It's definitely like some masterclass shit.
Yeah, like, well, not really. Yeah, I mean, sure, but there's no. You're gonna realize that as you learn more about music production, there's no straightforward A to Z guide to mixing and mastering it. It's really like it's very subjective for everything. It's not black and white, just like life isn't black and white. But anyway,
it's very situational.
Yeah. So anyway, let us continue. So the learning curve of music, yeah, it's gonna look something like this. In the beginning, you think, oh yeah, I get it. I'm at the fucking peak, and it's like 2 years of not doing shit, and then, oh, I'm actually doing something again, and whoa, what? People are actually listening to my stuff. Great, amazing. So my experience as a music producer from 0 to hero has been that at some point you stop giving a shit and you just do it for the sake of doing it, and then some people like it, some people don't. Doesn't make a difference. You still keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that is something very important. Like, you do it for the sake of doing it. You love it, even if it sucks ass. Even if FL crashes 100 times.
Yeah, no, I feel that shit.
Yes. So anyway, right. So how do we form? I should probably put this thing after this. But anyway, how do we form meaning in music? Simply put, we can project meaning through the use of construction blocks. Right here. And we express past experiences, or simply what we want to say to the listener, through these construction blocks. Okay. And how can we make the song reflect our meaning using these blocks? So it is a process of questioning, why do this as opposed to that? So that's the sort of philosophy that you have to consider when making music. And in the beginning, you're gonna be like, "What the fuck? I don't understand." And that is completely okay, because you're not supposed to. In the beginning, you're not supposed to know why do this as opposed to that. It's something you grow into over time. It's something you learn over time. You learn more about yourself. You learn more about how to express yourself, and really that is the true art of music. And now we're going to talk about style. So style is a personal subjugation of the building blocks which we have adopted over time. And now what does that mean? Now, first of all, you won't have a style when you begin, but you will find your style over time through excruciating pain that you will absolutely fucking love as something. Yeah. Yeah, so you'll find it over time as something you like to make and create. And here I have, like a nice sort of illustration of different styles of art or painting, watercolor, got ink, digital illustration. Like this is all art in a sense. Some people are gonna say, "Oh, their illustration is not really art." Okay, whatever. My point is, it's graphic art, visual art, and they're different styles, and you'll grow into one of these styles over time if you draw for a while, right? And it's the same in music. You'll grow into something that you'll like over time, slowly. But you won't really find it unless you like experiment a lot. That's the biggest thing. You need to experiment. That's what speeds up your learning curve. You try new things. You constantly learn new things. And I want you to note that, me personally, it's gonna sound like I prop myself up, but I'm not really not. I'm trying to just explain. Like, I don't have a set in stone style per se, because you've heard my music, you've heard Morning Coffee, you've heard like have you heard?
I'm a fan, though.
Thank you, I appreciate it, I really appreciate it. But you've heard the different like styles I make, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So I have different styles.
Some is pretty ambient and some is pretty electronic.
Right. Exactly. So I've got chill songs, I've got dubsteppy songs, I've got electro house songs, and I have some funk songs. So I make a variety of genres, but like still for every song there's a bit of soul in there. That's me. It's me in there, and I think that's why people say this is DraGonis style, even though it really isn't DraGonis style. It's just me in there. So I just put a part of myself that people can relate to every single time they hear a song. And it's not to say I don't make boring songs. It's just to say like you can hear a part of me in the song every time. So it's kind of like regardless what genre I make, you can still hear me in it, because the style and meaning it stems from me, right? It's actually quite very fascinating how some people really love the dubstep, like the dubstep song that I put out with James Lee, because they listen to it the most from their 2023, like the Spotify, what was it called? The
Wrapped.
Yeah, Wrapped. That was really interesting to see. Some people sent me like, "Oh, Die For You was my most listened song," and then some other people was like Journey to Windrise, and some people had like Hyperdrive. So that was really interesting. I really like thought that Journey to Windrise or Puppet would have been like the most listened to songs, but no, like people actually listen to the other stuff as well. So it was very interesting to see. Right. So this is where I was supposed to put this learning curve thing, right? What beginners might struggle, and I'm gonna include this document in the YouTube video as well. So you, everyone who's watching this video, you can just go into the description and find this document. So what beginners will struggle the most with is the time when your skills don't match your taste. It's like you've got this taste, you know what you like, you hear it, but when you go into the DAW, you're like, I can't do it. No matter how hard I try, I just can't get my skill to catch up with my taste. And then, I don't like what I make, and then scrap it and start over all over again. And you're gonna do that like for like 2 years straight. This is normal. It's going to happen. It will happen. And it will. Funny part is, it will always happen. Like even now, like my skill doesn't match up to the taste sometimes, and like perfectly fine projects don't get finished; they just get scrapped. my advice for people who struggle with this is like, you just need to try new things. You need to experiment. One of the best challenges out there is the cymatics. This was like fucking how many years ago was it? But cymatics had this like, was it 7-day challenge where every single day you try to make a new genre. This thing, I did that for 2 weeks straight. Every single day I pull up a new tutorial. When I was like 17, 18, every single day I pull up a new genre, like trap, hybrid trap, melodic, dubstep, chill future bass, glitch hop, electro house, bass house. Every single day I try something new, and this challenge itself probably sped up my progress a lot. It made me learn things. Because every day I was like I was like fully immersed in it. I was looking at through YouTube tutorials, and then seeing like what other people made, then referencing other tracks. I was fully immersed in it, taking it seriously, and this thing really sped up my learning curve and this gap. So I recommend every single person who feels like they have this gap just to try new genres, just for like 2 weeks straight, every single day you try to make something new. And it's gonna, right now you're gonna think like, oh, I don't really want to do that. It's too much, and yeah, it is too much. But at some point you will do it regardless if it's now or later. You will have to do it if you want to bridge the gap. So my recommendation is, you don't think of it as a chore. Think of it as something fun. Think of it like what's currently interesting you the most. What's the I wouldn't say hidden pleasure, but like what's something that you've wanted to do for a while but never really had the courage to do it. So what's the genre that you haven't tried before that really interests you? Look into it, try it out. You'll start making it. In the beginning you're like, what the fuck, and then a few hours later you're like, I fucking love this. You're gonna feel like that. You're absolutely gonna feel like that. And then what you can do is you can learn from pre-made templates. Always watch tutorials, and finally submit to the process, submit to time, and enjoy it too, because it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck. So yeah, this learning curve. You're adding tools to the toolshed in an attempt to sculpt marble, and with each new attempt, you get closer to your masterpiece, but it will never be your masterpiece. The song that you think is so perfect right now, in a few months, or even in a few weeks, as you start making new stuff, it's gonna sound like trash to you. It's gonna be like, damn, I made that, I'm so much better now. You will always be improving. You won't ever have that perfect song that you dream of. You'll just keep making better ones. And that's the beauty of it. I think a lot of people get stuck up in the idea that I have to, have a perfect song or a perfect thing before I release it. It's like, no, just release it. So if you have a song, you've finished a song, even though it's not perfect, just release it. Why? Because you have this huge gap between where you are now, between you as a producer and you as an artist, because you're afraid to release something because you're scared that it's not perfect. It's like, no, release it, let people hear it, and if there's no people who hear it, great, make more, love it, even if people don't hear it. It's quite. I sound like a maniac when I talk about this, and like in all the YouTube videos, I'm so like I seem so happy and all, but like now when I talk about it, I seem like a fucking maniac. Yeah, I absolutely am, because FL Studio made me this way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, just release it, see how it does. If it doesn't do well, that's okay. You're just beginning. You will keep making more. You will improve. You will grow an audience. Go into a community, talk to other people. You will have your own circle to talk to, that gives you feedback, that supports you, and you'll grow with them. So communities, absolutely, like find one, go into there, Start releasing music that the community is into, communicate, collaborate, and that is how you grow as an artist and as a person. And releasing music is like a journal of your progress. It's the best decision I've ever made in my life, because there's times when I take long breaks from music production, and I don't listen to anything that I've personally made, because I think it's not like, because obviously the stuff I said before, like you start thinking that the song that you just released that's so good, it starts to become dull after you release it for a while, because your taste gets so much better. Well, not better, but like it progresses. So it's always nostalgic when I go back and listen to my old songs. It's like I see how much I've improved, and it's very, very wholesome when I read through the comments and how people enjoy the music. And it's like something I've made in the past has touched the hearts of others, and that is a feeling that you can't really replace. It's the single best thing
It's the reason why we do it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's the single best thing about music production, releasing music, having other people listen to it and hopefully enjoy it. And I'm going to talk about my personal past, my past mentality versus now. So my mentality in the past versus now, like with music. In the past, well, when I first started, the first 3 years to 4 years of my production, I really sort of focused on the listener count and followers, how many followers I had and how many listeners I had. That was like my main focus, the numbers game. But nowadays, I don't care anymore that much about how many people listen to my newest song, or how many followers I have on Instagram, or how many subscribers I have on YouTube. It's just a number. I realize it's just a number, and it doesn't really mean anything. What has really brought me happiness is when people DM me that, hey, I love your music. It's really brightened up my day, and I hope you keep going. Like that's the thing that really brings out the best of me. That's what I love. I don't care about how many people listen to me anymore, and I don't care if people stream my newest song or not, because I make music for making music. I make music for myself and not for anyone else, as a matter of fact. So the listener counts as I care less about how many listeners I have and how many followers I have. Surprisingly, the opposite. Surprisingly, what happened was that more people started to like my music, which is really weird if you think about it, right? Like when you stop caring, then people like it more. It really goes against basic human psychology. Like, aren't you supposed to care about it if you want more of it? I don't really know. It's really weird with all this law of attraction things, whatever it is. But yeah, that's what's changed in my mentality over the years. It's like I stopped really caring about these numbers, and I really just focused on making meaningful music. Right. So now we're gonna get to the actual the FLP breakdown. After all this rambling, we're finally gonna talk about actual music production. Yay. So let me just pull the document up here first. So now the document doesn't matter anymore. It's just notes for myself as to what I'm going to speak about. So we're first going to talk about the instruments, which is in the intro. We don't have really a lot. We just have this pad and this plug. And we're not going to go into like how we're making these. We're just going to do a bit breakdown of the elements, right? What's the foundation here is obviously the chords. Like the chords is pretty much everything there is in the intro, other than the plug and the vocals. So this is, well, I would consider the foundation of this song, or for the intro part, and then we just keep on adding elements in onto it. So here in intro we got this nice respace which we add later on. So we just keep on adding more and more elements. So we're gonna add some ambience. Let me see.
What did you use for the ambience?
This is just a pad. Like, this is just a virtual riot pad. People are gonna shit on me for using virtual riot samples. I already know it. But anyway, so this is just literally just like a virtual riot pad.
Okay, gotcha. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, and then there's this vocal thing, and then some
gotcha.
cave sounds. Not sure where I found it. And then on top of that, I just added flute. And like, yeah.
What VST are you using for the flute?
VST. Yeah, Serum. Everything's Serum, pretty much.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh,
Yeah, there's a preset. I'm not sure where I got it. But yeah, pretty much everything I use is Serum. Like, this is all Serum, except I think there's labs, pianos, maybe somewhere. It's free. It's free though.
I know you're talking about, yeah. Audio Labs.
Yeah, Spitfire labs.
Spitfire, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much that for the intro. And you know, we got, as I said, we've got the foundation. We've got the foundational elements, which is the pad and the plug, and we just kind of like keep stacking on top of it with like elements, with effects, ambiances, and this sort of brings out the vibe, the emotion, and potentially the meaning of the song, right?
Yeah.
So that is that. And okay, we're gonna go to the vocals now, and this is going to be a little bit more difficult to, I wouldn't say difficult to understand, but it's gonna take a bit of brain processing.
I wanted to ask some things I heard reading about me. This boy completely doubting me, that I haven't read his diary.
So, okay, vocals. Vocals are always like they're amazing to have, but they're difficult to incorporate, in my opinion. Why? It's because I always have trouble sort of mixing vocals in a way that fits well with the song. Especially with Morning Coffee, I think I went overboard with like the processing on the vocals. I just have too much processing, and it's also too loud as well. So what I did first was I tuned these, pitch corrected them with Melodyne, and then I'm then also auto tuning it as well. We're gonna go over through the vocal stack. So we got the main vocal, which is here.
I wanted to ask some things I heard written about me.
And I just think this is too over compressed. Like,
I wanted to ask some things I heard written about me.
So I made this song quite like maybe like a year and two ago. Like, there's a lot of things I could improve in terms of vocals. This is just way too over compressed, and this is over processed so much that it stands out in the mix. Yeah, like, this is too many. Like, why do I need so many EQs here? What am I doing here? I'm not really achieving anything.
I wanted to ask some things I heard.
And why am I limiting vocals? That's something you should rarely do. Yeah, so I'm just commenting on my own shortcomings on the mix.
You're all good, bro.
Yep. So, but anyway, so how my vocal stack sort of works is that I have like a main vocal, and then I have two backing vocals or harmonies, and I make it so that the main vocal has a dry channel where I have like, well, not really anything. I just have a de-esser, so it kind of takes out the S's, like makes it less harsh.
I wanted to ask some things I heard.
Without it, it would sound something like this.
I wanted to ask some things I heard.
The S's sound quite harsh. And then I have a plate reverb.
I wanted.
And that is just it's like a very short decay time reverb that makes it sound as if it was recorded in a room. And then we have a hall reverb. So what I did was I automated the hall reverb to come in as the bass comes in. So
I know I haven't read his diary. I know how he likes his coffee. Maybe syrup, sugar, and amphetamine.
So if you can hear it, what basically happened was that it was kinda in a room here, but then widen out as we went into this next section.
Haven't read his diary. I know how he likes his coffee.
So I'm automating the whole reverb volume through Fruity Balance, as well as the delay channel. So I have a delay channel as well here. And I'm also ducking them at the same time, which basically means that I'm using Fruity Peak controller. So
what are you ducking?
So I'm ducking the reverb channels with the signal of the dry channel. So every time the dry signal plays, the reverb gets quieter, so it doesn't become as
muddy.
Yeah, as muddy. Yeah.
Oh, how he likes his coffee. Maybe syrup, sugar, and amphetamine. Well, I wouldn't know, 'cause I haven't read this diary.
And I'll show you how to do this. It's very simple. Like you put a peak controller to like the channel where you want the signal to come from, and then you just link controller, go to the channel where you put the peak controller on, and then you just like put -1 inverted input here. And basically what it does is that it just inverts the input of the peak controller. So every time you have volume here, this thing goes down. So it's very simple. And then you just mess with the decay and the bass, how much you want the ducking, how much ducking you want, and how much decay it has. Right. So that is that for the main vocal, and then we just have two side channels, left and right.
Wanted to ask some things I heard written about me.
And yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I have no clue what I'm processing here. But yeah, probably a lot of distortion. Yeah, OTT, saturation, EQ. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to achieve here. The idea of, trying to achieve meaning through mixing went completely over my head, probably, at this point. But it is what it is. So anyway, let's listen to this. And also, I don't have anything on the master, by the way. Like, there's an EQ, but it's not doing anything. This is just a reverb that I'm automating that comes in the build-up. So there's nothing on the master.
I wanted to ask some things I heard written about me. This boy completely.
So on the vocals, are those 3 different takes?
Sorry?
On the vocals, are those 3 different takes?
Yeah, these are 3 different takes.
Okay, hell yeah.
And then just panning these left and right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Just balancing that out.
Yep. Yeah, and then we have this part here.
I know how he likes his coffee. Maybe syrup, sugar, and
A little bit of ad-libs and some harmonizing.
Yep. So this really widens the part where the re-space comes in my opinion.
Haven't read his diary. I know how he likes his coffee. Maybe syrup, sugar, and amphetamine. Well, I wouldn't know, 'cause I haven't read this diary. And then
even noticed that part in the song until now.
Yeah.
I never noticed that in the song
Yeah,
until now.
right. It's very subtle. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of the meaning you derive or that you want to put in the song is very subtle. It's small little things that people might not notice, but it adds a lot of vibe into it when they actually do notice it.
Yeah, not fully on that.
Yeah.
And the little shit that kind of like harmonizes and stuff that you don't really notice.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna see. I'm gonna explain that a little bit more when we go into a drop. So, but here we have just some orchestral drums coming in.
And I know he would like me, so buy coffee and flowers you go. I really wanna get used to you. I wanna have something to show.
And here we just have a small like reverb automation. What I'm basically doing is I have this ambiance VST reverb plugin on the master, and I'm just automating.
Really wanna get used to you. I wanna have something to show.
So we're going wider in the build up, and then we're gonna tighten it as we go into the drop.
And what are you widening again?
Sorry?
Just the whole entire track. What are you widening again? The whole entire track?
Yeah, the master channel. I'm automating.
Okay.
I'm automating the reverb on the master track, master channel. Obviously, you should never put like reverb on the master, but this is just an effect. It's just an effect. It's not like I'm using a reverb. Like I have a reverb on the master track the whole song. It's not like that. And and then we just have the drop. It's lagging a bit because I have 2 chord stacks. Yeah, so one of these is using a lot of CPUs. I'm going to just disable one of these. It's going to sound a bit thinner. So let's break this down because it might seem like there's a lot of stuff going on, but there really isn't. So what we really have is the main foundation here, which is the chords, right? And this chord is really what's in the intro. Da 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 da. Like I'm just adding an extra chord here. And I am doing some effect automation here. So where is it now? Right, so first of all, what I'm doing is I am automating the pitch of the saw. So when we go into Serum, I'm not gonna take this one, I'm gonna take this other one. We'll go to Serum. Down here, every time we start the chords, I'm basically automating the pitch from -12 semitones up to 0. It's making this nice dun dun dun. It's like winding up sound. It's really nice. And then what I'm doing is I have an effector on with a vocoder, and I'm just automating the X and Y parameters. That's really random. Like there's no specific set in stone way of doing it. I'm just doing it randomly, whatever sounds good. Now, because this chord's really thin, and I actually made a tutorial about this, and then someone commented, "Oh, I think the drop is kind of empty or kind of thin." I absolutely agree with them. So I just stacked another chord, another saw, and it sounded like a lot better. So like that, it doesn't really matter how many stacks you have, as long as you think it's okay. And I think I kind of like it. I liked it a little bit when it's not too full, like there's not too much going on in that sense. What really gives the fullness, however, is the bass and the sub. Like that's where the power comes from. The melody drives it, and then the power comes from the bass. And then we got some this kind of sustain. Just a sustain, like a G, like it's just a sustain. That's it. You won't even notice it if it's not on or not. But I kind of liked it, so I kept it.
A little bit of ambience.
Yeah. And then we have I think the element that sort of glues it all together, which is the pluck. And what this pluck is, I'm just gonna show real quick. It's a lot of processing here, but what this pluck is it's literally like a sine wave. It's a flex 808 sine wave, and you could have used anything, to be honest. It could be just a sine wave. And I'm just putting a lot of distortion, and then reverb, and then I'm just automating the cutoff of the reverb. I mean the pluck itself. So when the chords stop, the pluck kind of also stops. Gives more space, in a sense.
I feel that. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's very subtle.
Clean.
Yeah, very subtle. Like you don't. It's not something you realize when you're listening to a song, but when you go into production, it's like, oh, okay, he's doing that. It's very interesting. Because I think this is very interesting. I don't remember. I didn't remember that I did this at all. And then what I'm doing is I'm automating. I have a convolver here, and automating as the cutoff goes down, the convolver comes a bit up, so it leaves like a reverb tail. So it kind of sweeps into the next section. Very interesting. I went through this project over last night. I was like, okay, I actually did this. Didn't realize that at all. So, anyway, that's that. That's for the melodic elements. So we got the bass, the lead bass chords. The pluck. Now we're gonna go over through the drums. We're gonna see how the drum sort of play on them their own, and we're gonna add these melodic elements on top of it as we go. So it already sounds pretty good. Like it can be a standalone thing, right?
Mm.
And now we got these low effects. So Earcandy. Yeah, so very small, minute things, but when you play them together, okay, I just can't do this. It fills out the spaces a lot. as to compare to when they are not there.
Oh yeah, that's a huge difference.
Like you notice it when they're not there.
Oh yeah.
But you don't notice it when they are there.
Oh yeah, it's just like it's so interesting. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to like almost be on your toes in a sense.
Not yes, but it becomes very natural, when you get into the rhythm. Like when you're in the zone, your things flow. You browse through your samples. These things come to you naturally, and that is something you will have to experience. You will have to experience. I mean, you already have. But like that's the best thing. Like it becomes so natural when you do it. You don't really think about it.
Yeah, and then like over time and shit, just like you kind of pick the same sounds over and over again.
Exactly.
Style and stuff.
Exactly, and that becomes the style element that I was talking about. So, but in general, the idea behind this is just building like around the main motif, which is the chords. That's the main foundational element, and then we're just building around it. Because what are the things that can be interchanged here? We can change up the drums, we can change up the lead melody, we can change up the FX. But as long as the chord is kind of there, I think the foundation has been laid. So the song, I think the majority of the meaning comes from this chord progression that's been played throughout the entire song, right? And then we just add fillers that complement the rhythm and motif. All right. So, do you have any questions regarding this?
Do you mind if I see the effects on the plugins that you have on the saw wave?
Yeah, of
for the main
course.
chords?
Absolutely. And we will actually we will go through all of these as we go through the lessons. Like you don't have to worry about like the individual mixings, etc. Like we'll go through all of it in detail, in minute detail. But overall, these chords, it's really just it's really simple. This is just. Wait, let me just turn off the effects. Okay, but why is chord 2? Right. So it's really just a saw. It's really just like. I'm automating the sync here a bit. Gives it a little bit of movement here. Ignore all this. Might as well not be there, to be honest. It's really just random. I don't think about this stuff when I produce, like how much mix I have on the flanger, etc. Like I don't think about any of it. It's just experimentation. And then effects. What we have is EQ. Let's turn this off. Effector. Doesn't matter at all. OTT. I'm not sure what fast LP. Yeah, it automates something. I don't know what I was doing here. What is this? What is this?
Hey, as long as it works, bro. Fuck.
Bro, I must have been pretty drunk when I was making this. Yeah, so got a limiting. I don't know why I put an EQ after limiting, but it is what it is. Got an endless smile before. If I don't have it installed now. Reverb. So the chord is really just EQ, EQ, OTT, limiting, then reverb. There's some really weird EQing going on, and it probably gives it a little bit of texture. But what really matters, I'm gonna go through the other chord as well. This is just like less detune.
I got you. Oh
yeah. Yeah. Like this is just less unison, right? So it's not as many sound. It's less unison. Then multiband compression. That's the most important. Like it's just OCT, basically OTT. EQ. Another OTT. Another EQ. I don't know why I did that. Limiting. And then I have endless small, which I don't have installed. But the chord, it doesn't have impact if it doesn't have a bass. Like the crunchiness and power comes from the crunch bass. So the bass is kind of the important thing. And what it is just a saw wave that's I'm automating the volume and then the noise level. Then we have multiband compression, hyperdimension on the crunch. I'm actually not even doing anything on EQ. It's kind of funny. I had a distortion, but I don't have a plugin installed anymore. OTT, EQ, limiting, and I have another wobbly bass, which is something like this. Let me turn off the FX. Just automating the volume again, some distortion, multiband compression, and then we put on the effects, EQ, OTT, effector, another EQ. I don't know why would I ever put a transient processor on the bass. I would not ask my past self. I would never imagine asking my past self like, why the fuck did you put a transient processor on the bass? It makes no sense, because like bass doesn't really have a transient. Like basses don't usually really have transients. They're supposed to be, kind of smooth. They're not supposed to have like a short or long release. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, not really much of a hit.
Yeah. Then another EQ. Then limiting. And it's like the stacking of the bass like makes the crunchiness come out. Like they supplement each other. That's the point of stacking. And then just have a sub bass.
So on the crunch bass, are you kind of just using like the high end for that? Then on the sub, you're kind of using that for the low end?
Yeah, the sub is pretty much filling everything underneath 200 hertz.
Okay, gotcha. Hell yeah.
150 hertz, and then I cut the high end, that's just low end, off of the crunch and wobbly basses. Yeah.
I gotcha. Get that kind of flair and style.
Yeah, and there's no set rules for how much you should cut or how deep the sub should be. It's really just how, as long as they're not interfering with one another, that's good enough in my opinion.
I gotcha. Hell yeah.
So that is that. Yeah, that's the chords. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the mastering chain. So I'm just gonna show the mastering chain real quick. So I mastered it on a separate FLP. There's an interesting phenomenon going on where like the sound, like the song sounds different depending on whether it's mastered in its own FL project file, or if it's taken as an external wave and then put into another project. I don't know why exactly that happens. I think it's something to do with the conversion. When you export as a wave file, like you lose some of the I don't know. I have no clue why that. Yeah, probably losing some information in it. But anyway, mastering chain. So just have a wave file here. I'm gonna turn off everything, and you're gonna see a lot of mistakes. And I mainly focus on the drop because the drop is the loudest part, so that's what I focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Start off with dynamic EQ. And I'm just like dynamically cutting the high end a bit, because I think that was like hurting the ears if I turn the song too loud. So I just did a small dynamic cut here, and straight away you can notice a mistake on this EQ, and it's that I didn't put it on linear phase. And what that introduces, that can potentially introduce phase rotation, and that's really bad, especially if you have like a wave file where you already have like a predetermined like set of harmonics. You can really make it like if you do some really steep cutting, even with like small cutting, you introduce small phase rotation, and that's generally not advised. Like generally, you should first of all always have linear phase, and second of all, if you're going to do steep cuts, do them inside the mix. There's no reason to do it in the master. And then we have compression. And this is really just a very like small -1 dB compression, soft compression on master. Then we have stereo imager. And these are not really doing anything. I'm just making the low end mono. And you have to be careful with this. To be honest, there's no need to do this even, because this can also cause unnecessary phase rotation depending on how much you do it. Yeah, but I mean, this should be fine. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe some expert can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, just like making the low end mono, and then you can see like a little bit stereoing on the high mids, and then making the highs a little bit more mono again, because what this does is that when this audio file gets converted as a MP3 and uploaded onto SoundCloud, there is the possibility that the high end becomes more washed out, because it is first of all compressed and turned into an FLP as from a wave file, and the highs can become incoherent in a sense. And this is what I'm going to talk about, like with dithering. Yeah, dithering. So it introduces a little bit of artificial noise to the wave file, and so that when it gets compressed to a lower quality format, it's still gonna sound the same. It's artificially introduced noise, very like low. It's a very low volume. You don't ever notice it, but it's good like for wave files if you're gonna planning to upload on like SoundCloud or even on YouTube. Sometimes it's good to have it. But anyway, Pro Q3 dynamic EQ. This is a huge fucking mess. This is so unnecessary. Like, if you have things you want to cut in the master, just if you're gonna cut so much, just cut it in the mix instead. Like, this is, I don't know why I did this. I must have been high or something. And also it's not linear phase, so this is really introducing a lot of
perfect mix.
Yeah. This is just gonna introduce a shit ton of problems. I don't know what I was doing. And then we have multiband compression, and multiband compression is same thing. You have to be very careful, because this thing can also introduce phase rotation, especially Maximus. I actually learned this a couple days ago. If you don't have Maximus, I'm gonna show here. If you don't have Maximus, I'll turn off all of this. If you don't have Maximus set on linear phase mode here, you're gonna have a world of hurt. So, okay, I have to make it a little bit louder. I have to make it loud enough so it can be compressed. So I'm gonna turn down the noise.
Is that just to make sure whenever it gets limited, it doesn't get, I guess, distorted in a sense?
You're gonna see that the multiband compression that Maximus does, it's not, because it has bands. It's basically cutting it into 3 bands, and then it's compressing them, each band separately. And what the problem is, if that is gonna introduce, is imagine like having like an EQ for each band and then just like having volume automation on each band up and down. It's an EQ, right? And you're doing relatively steep cuts. You're going to, as the volume goes up and down, you're gonna introduce phase rotation, which is going to introduce extra harmonics that you don't want in the audio file. So I'm gonna show you. Give me a sec. Is there something I can? Okay, so this is compressing now on Maximus. I'm gonna go on FabFilter Pro L. I'm gonna turn this down. So what's going on here is that the Maximus itself is not really compressing. I mean, it's multiband compressing the low, mids, and highs, but it's not doing like the limiting. So the limiting is done by the let me just clear this out. The limiting is done by the FabFilter Pro L2. So it's doing minus 6.2 dB. But when we turn on the linear phase, it's only doing minus 5 dB. So where did that extra decibel come from? It came from the phase rotation, which introduces extra frequencies. And I think the best way to show this, and I shout out to the guy who actually did a tutorial on this. I'm gonna link his YouTube in the description, because this was information that went right through my head every single time I used Maximus. I just have a square wave. Okay, so we have a square wave here. I'm going to turn off everything. Put the square wave here. We're going to have a oscilloscope wave candy. I think this. Okay, so I think it's related to the volume. I'm not sure if this is actually the best way to showcase it. It is not the best oscilloscope, but I'm already making the mistake of putting Maximus here, funnily enough. But so I'm going to show you what happens when you do this on the EQ. Like it sounds as if it's like the volume is being altered, but really what's happening is that there's phase rotation going on as you are
as the compressor and shit's working.
As the EQ, like as you can see here, the rotational, how you're rotating phase as you are moving the EQ up and down, as you are cutting or boosting. So it's altering the fundamental tonality of the square wave, not just the volume of the frequencies. It's also altering the fundamental tonality and harmonics of the square wave. So that's why you need to turn on linear phase. So now it doesn't have phase rotation, but you can still have problems with this linear phase if you're doing really like brick wall limiting on the master, because I know some people like to do like 20 hertz cut and 18k hertz cut or 20k hertz cut. If you don't, even if you have linear mode on the master, you're gonna have problem. And I'm going very deep into theory already, which I'm supposed to cover later on, but that's okay. It's like as I said, we're building the foundation. You're not supposed to know this stuff yet, so we're just really building the foundation to what we're going to learn later on. We're going to go a lot more in depth into it later on. So anyway, that is that phase stuff. Be careful with it. What I should have done instead is just like not have any and not have, first of all, have linear phase EQ mode on the Pro Q, and then just like not have all this weird stuff here, because this is really like messing with the phase. But yeah, it is what it is. And also dynamics, this is unnecessary. If I wanted to do multiband compression, I could just do it in a bus. And FL crashed. Great.
Yeah, it happens. It was bound to eventually.
Amazing. Love it.
No, I know, right?
Right, like everything was going so smoothly.
Oh yeah. No, your laptop's just like tired as shit. Like, bro, give me a break, please.
Yeah, for real.
Oh yeah. Are you on a laptop, or are you on like a, what's it called?
Oh, I'm on a laptop. I'm on like a gaming laptop.
Oh, hell no, that's the freaking best.
Still having trouble sometimes with projects though, as you can hear with the chords on the. I think it's not the problem with the laptop. It's actually a problem with FL Studio. I think there's a limitation as to how many chords you can use at once with the laptops.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why I am like deeply considering like only using Ableton in the future, because there's tons of advantages. Not only CPU, but you also like the workflow is so much cleaner. You have less visual feedback, so you're using your ears more. But like some people, like me for example, they I like the visual feedback that I get from all the EQs and stuff, and limiting and compression. But I'm sort of ignoring. Sometimes I fall into the trap of ignoring the audio, listening to the actual audio, because I've done this so many times. I just kind of use my eyes to gauge how much limiting I'm doing or how much compression I'm doing, as opposed to just listening to the actual audio. That's the trap you can fall into. Ozone. I don't have anything here on Ozone, so I just have this dithering option on down here. And what this does is that it introduces a very slow frequency. Like you can see here on the correlation meter, like this is playing. It's playing something, but you can't see it visually here on this frequency spectrum. If I turn Ozone off, this is gonna stop playing. Okay. So what it does is it introduces a little bit of artificial noise. We're gonna notice the significance of this noise as we lower the codec of the song. Finally, I'm just doing the limiting. And really, this is there's nothing special about this. I'm just cranking up the gain within basic settings, and that is pretty much mastering for a lot of folks out there. I know like intermediate professional audio engineers who study music technology who just put a like limiter on their master and they call it a day. So mastering at the end of the day is just like okay, sure, adding some clarity, but you're just making sure it's loud enough for the platforms to hear it. Especially in EDM, you're not gonna have like a lot of dynamics in the song. So this is really what mastering is. Everything, every important element aspect is done in the mixing and sound selection stage. Why? Well, because the mixing is what introduces clarity. The sound design and sound selection is what's going to define your mix. Because if you select sounds that are similar in frequency, you're potentially going to run into more mixing troubles where elements clash with one another. So you have to select the right sounds in order to have a clear mix. And in order to have a clear master, you have to have a clear mix. You see the procedure here.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a Venn diagram. Like
exactly.
Runs into each other, yeah.
Exactly, right. And just like the construction block with like music, it's like this is like the construction block to having a clear and clean master. And I have a lot of shortcomings in the mix, as you could hear, as well as the master. Like I think the vocals are way too loud.
To ask some things I heard written about me.
It's way too harsh and it's way too loud.
Oh, he likes his coffee, maybe syrup, sugar, and amphetamine.
And you only realize it after the fact as well sometimes, because you're so stuck in the production phase that you forget to like cross-reference or take a step back and really like analyze if this is the right volume it is at. And I ran into this problem with one of my latest songs, Twinkle, as well, where what happened was I made the song, I finished the song, I uploaded the song, I released the song, and then I go back I hear that, oh shit, the bass is way too loud. What was I doing? And the vocal trials and leads are way too quiet. And what I did was that I went back, I fixed it, I re-uploaded it on YouTube. Like I basically re-released the whole thing, whole song, re-uploaded it on platforms. And only then was I truly satisfied with myself. Because before that, I just couldn't stop. Like, it just bothered me so much.
Because this wasn't perfect in the way you wanted it to be.
Yeah. And like, it's by no means a perfect song, but like, for me, it is just such a pet peeve to have something that's going to be there for a very long time, that's going to be released, and every time I listen to it, it's going to be bothering me. So I don't want that. I'd rather have the embarrassment of saying, oh, I screwed this up. I'm going to re-upload it, fix the thing, than, having the regret and the eternal doom of having something I don't like out there, right?
Yeah.
So that is that. And right. So that is the mastering and the mixing of Morning Coffee. I don't know if this is too much. Do you think it's too much if we go over Twinkle a bit?
I'm okay if you want to.
Awesome. Yeah.
Like, I'm down.
Yeah, so one of my longtime fans has requested that I do a breakdown of Twinkle, and I never really did it. Mainly because of the fact that I am very lazy. And I don't usually do long form breakdowns of YouTube, like on YouTube, because I don't have enough things to talk about, and it always sucks when you have not written a script and you just forget what you're gonna say. And of course I can edit it later on, but I just don't like to have like long form content on YouTube. So this is going to be something that's raw and almost uncut that I'm just gonna upload on YouTube, and hopefully people will find some value. At least people who have kept asking me to do this kind of content, hopefully they will find some value from it. But yeah, let's break down Twinkle. Let me see. What am I supposed to do here? Right, so we've got three main parts: the intro, the verse, the drop, and we also got the second part of the drop, but that's not very important. We're just gonna quickly break down what happens in the intro, and let's listen to it. So, alright, I don't have anything on the master. Intro is very, very simple. It's just, we've got the main foundation here, which is the piano. And then atmosphere. And this was all by index, by the way. So what I added was basically this choir thing. And I added a respace. And then there's this ARP. So that's pretty much the intro. So just basically the piano, some atmosphere, and then some instruments that are layered on top. That's like based off the MIDI of the main piano. Pretty much the intro. And now we're gonna look at the verse, or what I consider to be the verse. I'm gonna turn on. So what I have on the master is a frequency splitter, which is honestly not a. It's on linear phase, so but it's generally not advised to have that. But we had it on Puppet, and I kind of wanted to sort of have a similar tonality to Puppet, so that's why I had a frequency splitter. And I have a Pro Q3, and I have it on linear phase. And then there's a glitch 2, which is going to be important in this section. And then I have a limiter. And then of course there's reverb automation in certain areas. Right, so let's listen to this. And this glitch 2 is basically doing this glitch here. So, all right. So
that was, sorry to interrupt. Is glitch pretty much the same thing as Effectrix?
Effect. Oh yeah, glitch 2. It's literally something that glitches your song. So if I spam this, for example, and then I just it's just different kinds of like glitches that are added to the song. I don't even really need to do this. This is randomized glitching.
Oh yeah.
Very, very interesting. Like this is dope. I love this.
No,
this
that's
thing.
awesome. It's
Yeah.
It's like Effectrix with an LFO.
Yeah, like sometimes what you can do is you can export the whole song with this, and then just cut pieces from the export, and then just add it as like chops, like small chops in between the song itself. It's very interesting. So basically resampling.
No, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, like there's so many ways. You'll realize there's so many ways to go on about adding little things to the mix. And I really want to teach this because there's just so many ways to do it. Like I would love to teach about it. So we're definitely gonna look at this at some point as well, probably. So anyway, let's go into the verse. So what we have here basically is just bass and sub. I'm gonna turn off this. So it's 2 growl basses.
Some of the bass is 3 layers.
Yeah, this is 3 layers. And people are gonna definitely ask me, oh, how do you make the bass? And it's like, I didn't make this. Indix made it. It's probably his preset, and I don't know what's going on here, but I can try to explain, kinda.
Can I see the EQ between the 2 growl basses?
Yeah, absolutely.
See how you
let me just show the bass itself first. So it is really just like a very squash or stretched waveform. Yeah. And then FM on B is full. Interesting. Very interesting. And then just distortion, multiband compression. That's the bass itself. And then we're gonna add EQs. I mixed it. I mixed it. I put the EQs here. So if someone's gonna comment, oh, you shouldn't do this on the bass, then it's my fault, you know, and I don't care. But yeah, so just cutting the lows on this first growl, just limiting it. I'm not even limiting it. Well, I don't know why I put a Maximus there. And then I have the second growl, which is also just a very simple. There's a little bit of movement here on the level, wavetable position, distortion, multiband compression. This is not anything special per se. I mean, it is his bass, but I'm just saying that like to sound design a bass like this is not that difficult, and I can definitely show you like how to do that later on. But right now we're not gonna focus on it. We're not gonna focus on the sound design part. Focus on the mixing and elements. So we got the EQ, got OTT, and then we got just emitter that's not doing anything. Oh, it's making a low end mono. Okay, that makes sense. And then we layer it together. And we got effects here as well, actually. Oh, I forgot to turn the effects off of this growl stack. But basically what's going on here is I added a distortion. This is called beef, but you can use any distortion really. And it's on a low mix as well. And then we got EQ, cutting out the low end. Got OTT. Got saturator. Got another Pro Q. And then finally limiting. And if anyone decides to ask me why I did the things I did, I don't know. I genuinely like, if you ask me a question like that, I don't know why I did that. It just sounded good. So I can't explain my thought process behind it. It just like, I liked the way it sounded, so I did it. And I just added a bass. Sub bass. And then there's this crunchy thing that's basically like a saw with a lot of noise, and that's, I don't know what this is. I think it's mostly just distortion. Like you can ignore everything else and just focus on the distortion. Yeah. Yeah, so just a saw with noise and then distort it. Oh, what is this? Crunchy tube. I don't know what that is, but that's really interesting. It doesn't actually do anything though. Then we have OTT, EQ, then limiting. And this is just this is a volume. This is just volume. That's it. Pretty much it. It's just nice. Like I like the crunchiness. I think that's the main thing I was going with it. The crunchiness. And in the beginning when I released the first version of Twinkle on Spotify, I thought like I just wanted to make the bass as loud as possible. But then I realized that wasn't the right thing to do, and that the lead and other elements were being drowned out by the bass. So I went back in the mix and I re-exported it and remixed and mastered this. Like I did like 20 different export after the fact. I uploaded on Spotify, and I was, by the end of it, I was like absolutely like exhausted, because I kept going back and forth and listening to like what sounds better, and I arrived at the conclusion that the latest version, which I uploaded on Spotify, does in fact sound better than the initial upload that I had there. So that is that. So now we have the lead ARP thing. And this is interesting. So it's actually 3 layers. R3. So just a wobbly thing. And then we got 2 plucky things. If anyone tries to copy this, go ahead, like feel free to pause the YouTube video and just copy this. Here, like I genuinely don't know, like, I mean Index made this. I genuinely don't know, like, why it is the way it is. Like it is what it is, right? I can't really explain it. It sounds good. It sounds good. I can't explain why I decided to, like, you know, keep it the way it is. There's this thing as well. Very subtle.
A little background ambience.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a little bit more of that as well here with this. And then couple with the exhausts. And then with the drum kick. Of course, I can't forget the sidechain. Like, this thing could stand pretty well on its own, right? So it's got the main foundational elements, like this part in the drop. So we got the lead, we got the bass, got the drums. But then we add the thing that defines it, which is the vocal chops. And all credits to Index for these amazing chops, by the way. These are just so good. Can't stop listening to them. So these chops are... Sorry?
Where do you usually find your vocal samples at?
These ones, I have no idea. I'm assuming, okay, just say it's Salvo something. I usually use like Kara vocal samples, and then I I just chop like Taylor Swift acapellas, and no one's gonna notice them.
No, I gotcha. Hell yeah.
So like, as long as they're like acapellas, they can work with, and I'll show you how to like do different kinds of chops as well later on.
Okay, hell yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what kind of acapellas you use, but it's more about probably the technique that's more important. So yeah, that is that, and then we have another layer of lead here. That's like a little bit thicker, I would say. And then we got this nice synth. And it's really about adding like these small things that you don't notice when it's not, like, you don't notice when it is there, but when you take it off, it feels a bit empty. Right. So that is that, and then we've got okay, so what I love about this is the call and response that we have here. So we got the first section, which is the call, and then we got the response in the second 2 bars. So we got the call here, we got the response here. We can further, I don't know what's the right word here, but I believe it is to,
So with the call and response, did you change up the, it was kind of hard to hear in that little main section. Did you change up the, I guess, main idea, or was it the call and response more just the vocals in a sense?
it's more about in general, it's pretty much just the vocals doing the call and response. The lead is leading it into the response section. But what you're gonna notice is that we accentuate. I don't know if that's the right word, but like to attenuate. No, not attenuate, but like to emphasize the response. What I did was I added percussion elements to the second part. So let's listen to this without the percussive response elements. And now we're gonna add the percussive elements, and here is another growl here actually. I'm gonna add that, and here's this small. Huh? Oh, it's not playing because I have the side. Oh yeah, right. And then we add these things. You hear the lasers. The lasers.
Pew.
Then here. These are amazing. Love it. Right. Yeah, so that's the call and response idea behind the drop, main drop, and without the vocals, like you can hear it pretty clearly. And it stands pretty well on its own, like surprisingly well on its own, without the vocal chops. But this is the vocal chops that defines it, right? It's the spice on top. It's icing on the cake. But it's also like the meaning of the song, right? So yeah, we've got all of that. We've got we got a lot of cymbals down here, so percussive elements that I was talking about. Now the percussive elements are more defined in the second part of the drop. So here. So I'm just gonna show what exactly is going on here. Index, if you're watching this video, I just want to let you know that you're an absolute monster for doing this. You're an absolute monster for not putting this into a single pattern, and I despise it. Like this is, why would you not just put this in a pattern and just put like the MIDI? Why'd you have to do this to me? But anyway. So I'd basically change up the here in the beginning. The clap. Yeah, so, and then added some tambourines. Do you want me to break down the drums individually, or do you think that's like you understand what's going on?
Yeah, that'd be cool if you could.
All right, so very simple. Like it's a moomba. It's a moomba Kashmir sample. I'm basically adding a clap and changing up the moomba a little bit here in the second part.
Mm-hmm.
Almost the same rhythm, just different sound.
Little...
Yeah, different sounding, and then adding the tambourines and lasers, and then adding these small fills. Sometimes I overcrowd the fill part. That's something I need to, I guess, work on to not overcrowd this fill, because there's no. This is enough. You don't really even hear this, to be honest. So that's something I need to pay attention to. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the call and response for the drums. And then it is just a let me think. So what is this here? It's a vocal. Yeah, so Index sent me some vocal chops, and what it sounds like is this. Wow, what am I doing with the vocal? Oh my god, vocal processing, please. So what am I basically doing is I am adding a LFO onto the first part of the vocal chops. Sort of emphasizes, you know, the call and response idea. And then just having the initial, like the plucks leads playing. And I think it might be a little bit overcrowded in this section, but it is what it is. I like it. So, doing some bass. I got some sub. You might be curious as to what these are. It's just ambiance. That's pretty much. Yeah, that is pretty much it for the second part of the drop. Yeah, that is that. Do you have any questions? I know I'm going a little fast.
No, you're good, man.
Awesome. Right. Maybe I should touch up a bit on like the vocal processing. I'm thinking. So how is the vocal chops processed exactly? So I've got basically 2 channels dedicated for vocal chops. One in the middle, just a stack. And I got a lot of going on here. Vocal chops, there's a lot of going on. Essentially what's going on is I am OTTing it, compressing it, so a lot of compression, EQing it, and this might seem weird, but I'm basically cutting the mid frequencies at 1.2K and 700 here, because this part is what got really muddy with the lead at the mids in the mono section. So I cut a bit of that and then do a high pass here. And you can see the overlapping frequencies on the lead as well. So that was the main focus of the EQ, which is like trying to make it trying to keep the clarity between the vocal and the lead. Then some saturation. Some more saturation. I don't know what this is. This index did this. I have no idea what this is.
You like multiband?
Yeah. Multiband saturation actually does sound a little bit better with it on. It's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, Saturn is a multiband saturator. It's very interesting. And Index basically automated the Valhalla vintage verb mix level. So the reverb kind of swoops in as the vocal is about to come back in. Very interesting. And then got just like a general reverb. Room reverb, and then got a... What is this? It's a de-esser. I don't know why that is there. Sometimes I really wonder what's going on in my head when I decide to do things. Got autotune. Just to make sure it's like almost pitch perfect. And finally got a wave shaper. Just to add a little bit of crunchiness to it. And then we're gonna go to the main, I guess the main processing. I don't know if that's the right word, but this is where I do the mixing part mostly. There's a multiband compressor here. I didn't put this here, but I guess what this does is basically kind of squashing it like OTT. I got an EQ, got another EQ. And this is the part where I struggle a lot to like sort of make it so that when it's played loud, it doesn't hurt the ears, but when it's played quiet, it doesn't also sound too soft, yeah, too mushy. So this is where I use dynamic EQ very carefully. I cut quite a lot. My 7 dB cut is very steep, but it was at the end I think it was the right decision. And if we don't have it on, then it sounds something like disable, yeah. It's not kind. It's not very kind to the ears when people are listening to this like at almost max volume on headphones. It's not very kind. So I think this was very necessary. Just cutting a little bit more. Then imager. I don't recommend using imagers. Mainly because like you can, if you use the stereo option here, it can introduce a lot of phase problems. It will introduce phase problems where when you turn it into mono, that you might lose certain audio frequencies that kind of cancel each other out. You don't hear it here, but let's just do it like this. Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter since the vocal itself is mono. But if you do this on something that's like already pretty wide, try to make it more stereo, you're gonna have cancellation you're gonna have cancellation so that when you play this on the mono speaker, it's gonna sound a lot softer, and it's gonna sound a little bit mushier and weird. So that's phase cancellation, so you don't really want that. And yeah, EQ. More EQ. I'm going to turn this from mono to stereo. And then final compressor. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for the vocals. Vocal stack. Yeah. Any questions?
No, sir.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's that's pretty much the majority of the song that I've broken down. Is there anything you want me to touch upon a little bit more?
Right now I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. If anyone has any questions in the comments, you can feel free just to DM me on Discord, and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability, because there's some things I cannot explain. I just cannot explain some things why I did certain things this way and certain things that way. It's just like preference and style, and I think some people are actually gonna shit on me for that, but it's fine. I don't care anymore. Too tired to care. I'm too tired to care. But okay, let me just show you the master chain real quick. So EQ. Sorry. Turn this down a bit. You can see the strain on my CPU as I turn on Pro Q3. Yeah, it is what it is. But I'm basically cutting the 10k hertz again on this master. What is going on? Right, so just a little bit cutting. Ozone 9. The Bitcoin miner. Oh, look at this. I turned everything off. What a pleasant surprise. I think I did it for a reason, and the reason was that it was just overcomplicating things way too much. So I basically did back and forth with the ozone. I listened with the ozone on and with the ozone off, and I heard no difference. I was like, yeah, this thing is doing nothing. So I turned everything off, and I basically just put the dithering on for the SoundCloud, cloud part, and then finally just a limiter, slap a limiter. You can hear how much ozone takes a toll on your CPU, even though it's not doing anything. This thing is an absolute Bitcoin miner. I need to get a better PC. So, limiting, just taking out some frequencies. I mean, limiting, not taking off frequencies. Hey, this is what 4 hours of sleep does to you. It's not taking off frequencies. It's taking off the volume. It's compressing. It's squashing the volume. And yeah, like there's nothing specific about the limiting. I guess don't mess too much with the attack. The release should be. Some people would like to do 0 release. For me, I have to be careful about this because some people are gonna like take this as a rule of what you're gonna do in the mastering process, but there's no set rule. If you like it at 0 and you want it to be like a little bit more distorted, then go ahead and do that. For me, for this one, I like to have it at 300 milliseconds, attack at like 260, and you can mess with these settings. Like the attack really doesn't do anything because you're limiting anyway, so it's not a compression. It's how fast the limiter kind of reacts, how much it takes away from the transients. So I don't have any particular reason to have it at 260 milliseconds. I just kind of liked it. I have aggressive mode on, and these modes actually do sound quite different if you try different modes. You're not gonna hear it here, but if you just test it on your own, try testing it on your own, and you listen to you put this earphone thing on, and you listen to what it's taking away in volume. This is the compression aspect. You're hearing the compression that's doing. So how much is it compressing? We can hear that the aggressive, it's not taking as much away per se, but it also means that it's more likely to distort if you push it too loud. But in this case, we kind of want that because I have this very crunchy bass, and I want this aggressive tonality to it in the master. So that's why I kept it on the aggressive mode there. But other than that, that is pretty much the track, like in itself.
Oh yeah.
So, in conclusion, so to conclude, I'm teaching something that most YouTube tutorials kind of fail to explain, and that is like music is subjective. You'll never have like setting stone rules for like EQs, compressors, etc., which a lot of tutorials kind of tend to do. And there's no one-fit-all framework for every single song. Each song is its own unique piece, and it has its own unique like structure and identity, mixing and mastering. To find consistency in those things, it requires like, you know, it's you are the consistency. And it kind of sucks that there's no hard set techniques, but over time you'll love it because it's not just a mundane one road path every single time when you make a music from start to finish. And to reiterate, we use building blocks and mixing techniques to produce meaning in music. It's not a clear-cut A to Z path to follow, but we can use the thought process of, you know, adding elements on top of a foundation to build a full-fledged song. We give each element its own space in the frequency spectrum, so it has space, and then we use EQs to shape the space. And then a good master is just a result of good sound selection and good mixing. And that concludes the lesson for today. I'm thinking like further lesson ideas when we do more of these one-on-one lessons. These are potential topics that we can touch upon. We can refine an already made song that you've done, and we can like sort of try to improve upon the mix and master. We can take a deeper dive into more. Hey guys, so that was the one-on-one music mentorship lesson with Clay. If you have any questions, you can DM me, and if you're looking for one-on-one music lessons, you can always, message me, hit me up, or send me an email. I try to answer as many questions, as many of the common questions I get in DMs as to sound mixing and sound design and mastering. And it's not something that can be easily explained in just like even in an hour-long video. It's something that comes from experience. So if you're struggling with it, definitely hit me up. I'm available for work. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions as to what I should be doing. But I'll keep uploading these if you guys like it. But anyway, thanks for watching and see you. Funny story. I first started in Magic's Music Maker, which is basically like you have loops. You drag loops and then you.
Is that like a DAW?
Yeah, it's a DAW. Yeah, but you basically use you drag pre-made loops, then you form music. So back then, I was like 14 years old, and I download this thing. I Google how to make music, electronic music. I download Magic's, and then I just drag some loops in, drag some drums, and then it's like, oh, wow, I made music. This is so easy. Time to get on NCS. I shit you not. I tried to submit to them. I got rejected.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. It's like, fuck, man, you don't realize why. You're just like, all right, back to the lab, just keep on working.
Oh man, and then I later on, I like 1 year into it, I download like FL Studio, and then I realized, like, I see the MIDI clips and all that shit. I'm like, because I don't know music theory back then. I tried to do something, and I'm like, fuck, this is hard. This is fucking hard.